also, all this talk about democracy and not thwarting democracy. This is a guy who party and apparatus did all it could do to make sure that Bernie Sanders didn't move ahead in the primary. And they put
totally. I mean, this language could be used about Bernie's movement if they actually posed any real threat or were a counter hegemonic force and Bernie didn't fold back into the Senate. If Bernie had actually responded to the media the way Trump did about all the phony Russiagate allegations against him, if he actually had fought and he had his people out in the street.
I'm referring more to the, I'm not defending him on that, but I was referring more to the way that the DNC put its thumb on the scale.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, we know that thanks to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Yeah. That was another aspect. And one of the greatest moments that the Bernie movement brought to us in 2016 was the heckling of the national security state, the woke national security state presentation at the DNC.
Right, with Leon Panetta.
The Bernie delegates wanted to fight. They just didn't have a leader who was going to allow them to actually attempt at least either attempt a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party like the MAGA Republicans are doing, or to obstruct business as usual and protest and get in the way, because this is a pro-Wall Street, pro-war state party. And this language has been used before in U.S. history. I mean, first of all, let me say the Bernie movement at least understands what the real threats are, or did. They relate to class and inequality. It's not a bunch of QAnon believers running rampant for a few hours in the Capitol. And they have been pushed to the side and folded back into the Democratic Party. But this language does remind me a lot of McCarthyism. It reminds me a lot of language we heard about communists, which is ironic because the MAGA movement is ferociously anti-communist. Right. I mean, I saw, these guys playing military dress up at the Capitol with helmets on, calling the cops Chinese Communist Party cops. And everything was about China there. So it's ironic, but this is like a pastiche of past McCarthyite rhetoric, which was then used to define people who held communist views and positions in a state of legal exception and to drive them out of public life.
This used to be a standard liberal position. Like, I may not like what you have to say, but I'll fight. That is, the cause of civil. Basically, Trump broke people's brains to such an extent that people who used to be good on civil liberties and free speech are not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. I mean, that's the point. You saw, I mean, we get back to the speech, but you saw one of these a former cop or an off-duty cop who swung a baton, or he swung like a flagpole at a cop at the U.S. Capitol, sentenced to 10 years in prison. Okay, that sets the precedent for doing that to people who are anti-war protesters who routinely are confronted by cops in the street. And every socialist who freaked out and had hysterical meltdowns about January 6th being this giant insurrection and secret insider military plot that needed to be crushed because fascism was going to take over, they, instead of understanding how this was going to be used against them if they ever decided to pose a threat to power directly, they fed into this. I mean, a very dangerous precedent is being set now. It could very well be used against the left. Unfortunately, I don't really see the left out in the streets as much.